Occult Confessions is brought to you commercial-free through the generous support of our patrons. Visit occultconfessions.com and click on Donate to keep the history of the occult on the digital airwaves.
For centuries, there was one primary saint that Mexicans turned to for protection, the Virgin of Guadalupe. Then, beginning in the 1990s, the popularity of a new saint began to take hold, the skeletal Santa Muerte, or Saint Death. The Catholic Virgin of Guadalupe overlapped with an ancient Aztec goddess in ways that blurred the boundary between Christianity and paganism. Similarly, Santa Muerte emerged as a liminal and uncertain figure on the edges of Mexican spirituality. Some believers regarded her as a kind of archangel. Others saw her as more like an actual saint who had once been human. Some saw her as an agent of God, protecting the good, others as an amoral supernatural figure capable of aiding criminals. Today, on Occult Confessions, we delve into the mystery of Mexico's pagan saints. My name is Dr. Robert C. Thompson, joined this day by Savannah Verrett, sister of the 84th degree.
Hello.
And we have a special guest today, Alan Ibanez Gallegos.
Yeah, you got it.
Alan has permission to interrupt me and repronounce anything that I say, and that's okay.
I'll do it.
Alan, where were you? Where's your family from? Where were you born?
I was born in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, right across from El Paso, Texas. But my family is from different parts of Mexico. My dad is from Veracruz, Orizaba, so it's like a beach town, and my mom is like more towards the center of Mexico. It's cool because like both of them have like great like stories, like folklore, urban legends that they know that they've been passed down from generations, and it's cool to compare how like different they are from like one state.
All right, so Alan, what's your take on pagan saints? Do you have any pagan saints in your family?
Yeah, I mean like in Mexico, and I guess in all like countries that like practice Catholicism, Christianism, there's like a saint for every day of the year, and when you're born, I guess you get assigned one. I personally don't know mine. I'm not super into Catholicism.
You forgot your saint?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Who was your saint, Savannah?
I definitely do not have one.
When you were born, they took your saint away.
They assigned her a demon. Pazuzu, or I don't know, someone name another one.
How about Santa Muerte, Alan? You have any personal experiences with Santa Muerte?
I mean, personally, no, but I know my dad has had visions with a figure that is very reminiscent of La Santa Muerte. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, he had a really bad stomach ulcer, and he spent a few days in the hospital, and he thought he was gonna die. And in one of his dreams, he was walking down the street, and there was a shadowy figure, clearly a woman, with like a dark cloak, and she was asking him to come to her. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, "Not today. It's not happening." And my dad,
try again later.
He's very strong. He's got a very strong mentality, and he was adamant that he wanted to still like stay alive, so he didn't.
Oh, so he identified her as death itself.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
he didn't.
Not today, death.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But death was a woman.
Yeah, that was a woman. Yeah, it was a woman, and yeah, he didn't follow her, and he told me that like he was like fighting it, like his body was like shaking and all that.
Whoa.
That's interesting.
But he made it out. He's a lot healthier now. I think he looks healthier than he did back then. Better diet and all that. And my dad has always been like a little skeptical. He's very agnostic. He grew up in a Catholic household. Yeah. But he doesn't really like practice religion. He thinks that people that practice it are like a joke and all that.
But he thought this vision was genuine?
Yeah, he thought this vision was genuine, and he doesn't talk about it much. He told that to me like only once, and like he's never talked about it again. And I don't know how many people he's told that story to, but like, it's a very compelling story. And
Well, now
Yeah,
everybody
it
knows.
is.
now everyone knows. I'm sorry, Dad, if you're listening to this. I am so sorry. I am airing out.
Now the confessors know.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Speaking of the confessor, Savannah, let's pledge it out. We, the members
Of the secret order of alchemical actors, do solemnly commit ourselves to a full and honest telling of the history of the occult as far as we know it.
And we do it on behalf of Alan.
Amen.
Yes. Amen.
That's not necessary, Catholic.
We are a part of a cult. You welcome.
Yeah, welcome. He's like on Visitor's Day. He's coming in, try the punch, see how it is.
Who's flavored?
Make some sounds, Savannah, to open up that order of confessors.
Bing bong boom.
Fair enough. We're heading toward our summer break, which means that I pre-record a lot of stuff. We do have a couple people who snuck in before we started summer break. That is Tom P., my buddy Tom P., who I communicate with regularly on the Instagram. What's up, Tom? And Jen D., who I think is a Discord friend of ours. Welcome, Jen.
Oh, yeah. I think so. I think she goes by Jenny in the Discord.
Now officially patrons. Unless that's different, Jen, feel free to straighten us out. There are a lot of Jens in the world,
Yes.
I understand. Ella the Enchantress left us a review, 10 of 10, would recommend on Podchaser. Thank you, Ella the Enchantress. And that's all I got today because, again, we're headed towards summer break, so I'm booking it along here. We're recording multiple episodes in a week so that we can take a little holiday.
Thank you.
All right, close this up.
Bing, bing, bing.
I thought you were going to try to do it backwards, but you forgot what you did, right?
I was going to do it backwards, and I started with the first one.
Let's start with the Virgin or Virgen. Yes.
Virgen, yeah, Virgen.
Of Guadalupe.
Virgen de Guadalupe, yeah.
All right. December 1531. 1531. This is a long time ago. Juan Diego, a Chichimec. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Peasant. Now, Alan did warn me before that he was not going to, the Aztec gods, he was going to shy away from.
Yeah, I have trouble pronouncing the Aztec.
We only have
gods.
one of those,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
so you'll be all right.
All right.
All right, so Chichimec peasant saw 4 visions of the Virgin Mary. She, the Virgin that is, requested that he build a shrine. Juan Diego asked the bishop, Don Juan de Zumarraga, to build a shrine, but the bishop was too busy, and he said, come back another time, sir, like your dad with death.
Not today.
Not today. Juan Diego went back to Mary and suggested that she find someone else more important to help, because he clearly was not able to move the bishop, but she said no. He was the one to do it. Juan Diego brought out-of-season roses to the bishop at the Virgin's request, and while unfolding them from his outer garment revealed the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe on the garment itself. This was the sign the bishop had been waiting for to begin building a shrine. You know this story, Alan?
Vaguely, yeah. But in the context that I read it was how the Spaniards created this myth in order to get the indigenous people to believe in their religion, and since it wasn't working until they mixed some of that the Aztec Mexica paganism with Christianity, and then it kind of worked, and they were able to convert a lot of people into
Get to that Aztec goddess, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that in a sec. News of apparitions that had appeared to Juan Diego and the miracle of the Virgin's visage on his outer garments, not a Spanish word, kind of a French word, it's more my area, swayed local Indians to belief, and a tradition of pilgrimage to the shrine was born. As Alan's saying, the indigenous people said, okay, so there's a shrine here, and you guys are just putting your thing there, but we were already going, so now there's going to be a tradition of visiting. Virgin of Guadalupe refers to the image of the Virgin Mary celebrated at Villahuercas Monastery in Guadalupe, Spain. This original virgin appeared to a shepherd to help him discover the holy relic of a wooden statue of the Virgin said to have been carved by Luke the Evangelist, buried at the site where the monastery would later be built. The Virgin of Guadalupe is one of 3 black Madonnas in Spain, giving her a syncretic character, so literally pictured as black rather than white. The site of her monastery in Spain was also in the midst of the Spanish Moors and served as an outreach to non-Christians. So remember, Spain was occupied by the Muslims, largely African Muslims, so they used the Black Madonna as a way to get Spanish people over in Europe, right, to convert. So the similar thing is happening in Mexico. In 1340, when King Alphonse XI attributed success in battle over the Moors to the Virgin of Guadalupe, so she also, the Black Mary also helped him beat the Muslims, a massive monastery was built, and this led to a popular movement of devotion and worship for the Spanish Virgin of Guadalupe. This is 1340. It's about 100 years before the Mexican Virgin of Guadalupe. Mm-hmm. Apparitions of the Virgin followed a scenario. A poor or disenfranchised person saw the Virgin, and she comforted him in his task to bring news of her appearance to the religious authorities, who would resist but ultimately relent when a miracle is produced. So this is sort of a legend that repeats itself in many different guises. These apparitions were common in the Old World and were brought to the New World to help shift the devotions of the Aztecs, as Alan pointed out. The Virgin comforts the conquered and converts them. It's okay, you guys, says the Virgin. Come hang out with me. The hill of Tepeyac. Does that sound familiar, Alan?
No.
it's where the Mexican Virgin of Guadalupe shrine would be built. Was already the site of worship of, as Alan's mentioning, the Aztec goddess, and I won't make you pronounce this, Tonantzin. Does that sound right?
Tonantzin?
Yeah, all right. The Earth Mother goddess, associated with fertility. One of those fertility goddesses. My daughter, we have a book of goddesses that we read every night because, occult confessions.
That's pretty cool.
And not every night, but most nights. I feel bad when I don't read her a goddess, and she's always like, do we have to do it? Anyway. But a lot of them are fertility goddesses, and Tonantzin is not in the mix, but she should be. The Spanish worried that the pilgrimage, like many other syncretic practices, was masking Aztec religious practices with a Christian guise that permitted the Aztecs to maintain their gods. So we're thinking about this from the Christian perspective, that the Christians are trying to appropriate the god, but the counterpoint to that is that these Aztec people are actually maintaining their god and fooling the Christians with their guns, who are like, worship our god, by continuing to worship Tonantzin, albeit by visiting the Virgin's shrine. Natives tended to treat the Virgin in the same way that they had Tonantzin. They requested miracles here in this life rather than as signs of an eventual reward of the afterlife. So if you're a good Catholic, Alan, we'll see how Alan knows his Catholicism. If you're a good Catholic, you're not supposed to ask for God to give you a Cadillac. But if you do ask for a Cadillac, it's only so that God can prove himself and you can go to heaven.
I mean, I definitely know of a lot of people who go through hardships, and they buy a statue of La Virgen de Guadalupe, and they hold prayers. Actually, not long ago, a friend passed away of COVID, and
sorry to hear.
And they held a like a prayer thing, and they were worshiping La Virgen de Guadalupe in his honor, and they were asking, to take him to heaven and all that, and I don't know, it was a little emotional and all that, celebrating his life, but still worshiping, their saints.
So there's kind of an overlap. There's both afterlife components to it and this life components, health and that sort of thing.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Mostly with health. I think people ask for miracles from La Virgen de Guadalupe.
Okay. While the Virgin of Guadalupe has been Mexico's patron saint for centuries, she has recently encountered a rival for popularity, particularly among Mexico's poorest citizens, Santa Muerte. She appears as an expressionless skeleton in a feminine robe, or with red eyes and an angry expression in her more metal incarnation. That's my characterization. There's metal Santa Muerte, and there's regular Santa Muerte. She got red eyes. So she's become a central focus of cults across
not
the
literally
country.
metal.
No. I mean, like
So
hardcore.
Okay.
Like Metallica, Led Zeppelin kind of
yes.
thing. Yeah.
So she's a skeleton expressionless, and then she's a skeleton expressionless, but with
red
red eyes.
Yeah.
And I guess you could see like the vanilla version has like the Virgin de Guadalupe is like like robe and all that, like very colorful, and the other one is just like monotone colors, like either just like white and blue or like all black or all gray.
And kind of angry. She's a different face, so not expressionless. A little bit angry.
Gotcha.
She has become a central focus of cults across the country and appealed especially to Mexicans who have run afoul of the law or the drug cartels in their midst. Or of the drug cartels. So either you run afoul of the law or you run afoul of the drug cartels, and this is what is driving people in part to invoke Santa Muerte. All right, so let's get into Santa Muerte. She has her origins in two figures, La Catrina and La Santísima Muerte. Her recent incarnation as a saint, invoked via a three-dimensional statue that people make offerings to, surfaced in the 1990s. So that's when we first starting seeing these figures. Alan was mentioning Virgin of Guadalupe, but Santa Muerte in the 90s started to be these little figurines when Alan was just a little Alan, right?
I was wearing 95, so yeah. I was
Works out.
A little wheel ad.
So, in the 90s, Mexico City resident Doña Queta displayed a life-size statue of Santa Muerte in the street in front of her house. It had been purchased by her son, who had prayed to Santa Muerte while in jail, and believed that he had received protection from Santa Muerte in jail. So he came back and told Mom, this statue, so she set up a big statue that people could see, in her house anyway. It quickly became a shrine and a pilgrimage destination, and both Protestant and Catholic authorities rushed to condemn it as devil worship in the case of Protestants and idolatry in the case of the Catholics. So it was sort of like on the street, right? Did I say that? It was in front of her house. It wasn't in her house. You could like see it.
Okay.
It's like if you took your Christmas tree and said, I'm going to do it on the lawn this year.
Gotcha.
That's her Santa Muerte. Early references to Santa Muerte can be found in Spanish colonial records from the 1790s, actually. And some scholars tie her to... Oh, boy.
It's so hard, but I think the closest one would be Mictlantecuhtli.
Mictlantecuhtli.
Yeah.
This is the Aztec god of death. A skeletal figure in Tepitepec, cool, in Hidalgo had been worshipped at San Bernardo and Santa Muerte dating to 1965. So there's a little bit of like dates in there. For most of the 20th century, and perhaps before, Santa Muerte was approached as a two-dimensional figure, bridging the satanic and the divine. So I say three-dimensional, I mean you create a figurine. Two-dimensional is just like
a drawing?
Yeah. Jose Guadalupe Posada created his satirical image of La Catrina, or the Dandy, first published in 1894, and she looked an awful lot like the current representations of Santa Muerte. Skeletal face, flowing robes, covered head. This is all for comic effect, political commentary. But Posada was best known for sketching calaveras, satirical cartoons featuring skeletons that poked fun at social and political issues, as I'm saying. The dandy reflected vanity, specifically female vanity, which was mortal, just like regular folks who didn't have the luxury of being so vain. Out of all of Posada's thousands of calaveras, La Catrina is one of the few who has made a regular appearance at altars for the Dios de los Muertos. The days of the dead are, however, focused on humans who have died and not spirits like Santa Muerte, right, Alan?
Yeah. You celebrate the death on, I think it's like November 2nd.
But humans. Mostly humans.
Humans.
Santa Muerte occupies a liminal or between space on this question. She is a spirit, but she's called a saint, and Catholic saints are meant to be people who actually lived on Earth at some time or another, although some are more legendary than historical. One story tells of how the woman who became Santa Muerte was a bride who was jilted at the altar and shriveled up and died from a broken heart right there in the church.
Ow.
Wow. Yeah.
Jesus.
That's a weird Disney movie. Mm-hmm. Offerings made to Santa Muerte show that she also has a number of vices, including smoking, drinking tequila, chocolate, marijuana, and mariachi music, which I don't think is a vice, is it? No.
It's leisure, pleasure.
It's just leisure music, yeah. Why it has to be a vice? Not everything has to be a hymn. Anyhow. She sort of reminds me of some Santeria and voodoo spirits in this way. She likes smoking and
Tequila.
Marilyn Sumdy likes to smoke. This harkens back to the vain La Catrina, the Posada cartoon. Devotees also refer to their personal Santa Muerte statuettes using family terms like my child, my wife, my mother, or my sister. Despite how they humanize their statues, believers say there is only one death, and Santa Muerte is a symbol for death. Still, most devotees are quick to indicate that La Santa Muerte is not an actual saint, but a spirit, more like an angel. The statues of Santa Muerte earn their power through the devotion shown to them, such that her power, localized in a given statue, is a product of all the people imagining what she might do for them. So it's like an icon. It's pulling in all these different powers.
Okay.
The believers.
And what they ask of her is to basically prolong death, basically, or like to help shepherd
To
people,
protect them.
like when they die and stuff too.
It's often like the guy in prison. If you're in a precarious situation, Alan's sort of saying this for health for the Virgin of Guadalupe, but this is, I guess in Santa Muerte's case, it tends to be more like physical danger.
Gotcha.
Then you invoke Santa Muerte.
Okay.
Yeah, like let's say if you're putting yourself in like dangerous situations, dangerous activities, like more often than not, you'd want to pray to La Santa Muerte.
Oh, okay.
You, yeah.
Interesting.
So the more popular statues are, the more powerful they are. And I mean like specific statues. So the original one on that street you can go and visit, that's like the most powerful. So the more people come and worship at your statue, the more belief is invoked in your statue, the more powerful the actual object becomes. Although the power itself is not physical. Santa Muerte statues do not contain the spirit until the spirit is awakened by breathing smoke onto her or spritzing her with Santa Muerte spray.
What is that?
Spray.
Sounds a little bit like a scam. Some devotees cradle their statuette like a doll and put a cigar or cigarette in her mouth and then blow smoke over her.
Wait, did you just brush past what the spray is?
That's just,
what is
you
it?
just buy it. You buy Santa Muerte spray.
Could it be like holy water or something? Like
Yeah, sort of like that.
Holy
Yeah.
water.
So it's just okay.
Yeah, but you could just do the smoke thing. That's less of a scam, I think.
Yeah. At least you're getting something out of it.
Right, and you can just buy those anywhere. So, in addition to skirting the line between human and saint and non-human spirit, Santa Muerte also walks the boundary between divine and satanic. More than half a century ago, underground prayers called La Novena were used to invoke death to aid the devotee. Some of these prayers involve direct address to the devil or Lucifer. Today, the 9 prayers of La Novena have made their way into the sunlight and are widely distributed, but references to Lucifer have been omitted, because Catholic. Could you imagine, Alan? People passing out prayers with Lucifer all over them?
They'll be run away. It'll be banned.
Not going to go over well.
Yeah.
Still, a theological quandary persists. La Santa Muerte, Saint Death, has sometimes been called La Santísima Muerte, or Most Holy Death. Since she is not a member of the Trinity, this most holiness places her among supernatural beings capable of intervening in human affairs. But she's not God, and that means she must be of or associated with the devil. To get around this, many devotees regard her as an angel who acts only with God's permission as an agent of divine will. Yeah.
I thought everybody could only do stuff with God's permission.
I knew you were going to say that.
We talked about this in the Salem Witch Trials episode.
Yeah, technically the devil operates only with God's say-so, yes. Yes.
Well, I think like La Santísima Muerte and La Santa Muerte, they're very associated too with Satanist cults. I think like the more devoted you are to Catholicism and you see La Santa Muerte, you'd be like, you're unholy. Like, well, what are you doing?
Okay.
You know, like you're treading dangerous water by praying to that thing, they would say, you know. But then there's people who are less devoted to Catholicism. They're more spiritual, and I think they're more likely to not see La Santa Muerte as like a demonic figure.
So very committed Catholic would not
No, I
come
don't think
near.
so. No.
Or your dad.
No. Probably not. I don't think they'd even dare mention or talk about it. It's not canon in their world.
It's taboo.
Yeah, very taboo.
The most prominent service to Santa Muerte is held by Doña Enriqueta in Mexico City. She's regarded as La Madrina or Godmother. Enriqueta regards the service as properly Catholic. She is able to officiate at the ritual as a non-priest because she is saying a rosary to Santa Muerte, which anyone can lead, right, Alan? Anybody can lead a rosary.
Mm-hmm.
A rosary generally focuses on events from the Bible, unfolding them through their association with the beads of a rosary necklace. See, and then Jesus walked over here, and then he did this, and he moved from bead to bead.
During the holidays, you'd see a lot of people meeting at different houses and go. They do rosarios, the rosaries.
Mm-hmm.
They have food afterwards and all that. And I've seen those happen here in Easton as well. Like friends, like their parents, they would host un rosario and invite people from their church over.
It's holidays, Easter time.
Yeah, like Easter and then like in December and all that.
Okay.
Too. Yeah.
High holy days. Let's see. Enriqueta's prayers focus on people who are mixed up in crime, addicted to drugs, or victims of police or criminal injustice. Getting us back to Santa Muerte's focus. She's particularly appealing to people in precarious situations, which lends to her association with and appeal to people in the drug trade. According to anthropologist Laura Rush, she offers a ritual suspension or socialization of fear. Believers ask of Santa Muerte, "No me desampares." Yeah?
Yeah, don't leave me alone. No me desampares.
Don't leave me alone. Don't leave me without protection. Traditionally, Mexicans made this request of the Virgin of Guadalupe, as Alan's saying, but Santa Muerte now rivals the Virgin in popularity among certain groups, as Alan is also saying. Other groups are like, no. Which I'm sure adds to the appeal.
Yeah, and I think it's grown a lot in popularity over the past 2 decades. It's you see more statues of it, more people have shrines of her, and they openly say they worship her. I think in the past you said that, you'd be like, who are you?
All right, let's do the narco saints. Alan, I promised this before we started that we would get into some narco saints. Here we go. And if you think I'm going to get into any trouble with the narcos,
I don't think so. I hope not.
Right.
It's a saint. Why would
we're just talking about him. We're not saying yay or nay. The rise of Santa Muerte, as Doña Queta's own history bears out, took place mainly in the prisons among prisoners and is associated with the narcotics-related crime wave of the late 1980s and early 1990s, just before Alan was born. Tangential but not unrelated to the rise of Santa Muerte was the publicization of the end of the Palomayombe-inspired crime gang led by Adolfo Constanzo and Sarah Aldrete, based in Matamoros, a group that we actually have already covered in our Satanic Murder Cults episode. So check that out.
I thought that name sounded familiar when you said it.
Yeah. They were good community college students, or she was. Aldrete was the witch.
Yeah. God,
they
yeah.
were murdering people over the border. Yeah.
Yep.
Burying them. It was horrific. Santa Muerte herself appeared as a small statuette in pictures of the Matamoros cult's compound. I didn't mention that back then because we hadn't done anything on Santa Muerte, and she wasn't much observed or commented on in the vast coverage of the episode, though. So although she was there, she wasn't the focus of what they were doing because it was all Palomayombe. But Constanzo and Aldrete succeeded in blending drug crime and occultism, or esoterismo, in a way that captured the public's imagination. New laws in Mexico allowed greater toleration for the establishment of new religious groups, which allowed for more storefront churches to pop up. This would have been in your childhood. Yeah. These storefront churches are starting to be a thing. Used to just be you'd have to go to the big Catholic church, and now
they're just an apartment church.
Here's a church over here. Yeah. Mexican Catholic resistance to Santa Muerte was led by Cardinal Norberto Rivera, who started a campaign to collect Santa Muertes. Sort of like when we collect guns in the U.S., we try to get all the guns and melt them down. That's what this guy was doing, the Cardinal.
Like all the statues?
Yeah, he was trying to do a drive. And Writing for the FBI's crime bulletin, scholar Robert J. Bunker argues that while most Santa Muerte worshippers are not associated with crime, there is a significant minority of worshippers who follow the fully criminalized variant of Santa Muerte worship. Santa Muerte is only one of a group of unsanctioned saints worshipped by drug cartels, including Jesus Malverde and Juan Soldado.
Yeah.
You know
Jesus Malverde. I know of Jesus Malverde, not of the
Not Juan
second one.
Soldado.
Yeah.
Malverde is a folk hero of Sinaloa whose historical existence is subject to doubt. We don't know if he existed, but he's legendary. His legend likely blends the stories of anti-government rebel Heraclio Bernal
Heraclio Bernal.
and indigenous agitator Felipe Bacomo. After his parents died, either of starvation or of a curable disease that went untreated because of their poverty, Malverde became a kind of Robin Hood, with victims giving him the moniker Malverde or Evil Green. Did you hear that? Malverde?
Malverde.
It's fun.
Evil Green.
Evil Green, yeah, that's your next Marvel movie.
Evil Green. It's the Hulk, like he turned villainous.
Yeah. Yes. For the color's association with bad luck in Sinaloa, specifically in Sinaloa, right? Not all Mexicans think green is bad luck.
And both of you guys
No.
are wearing green right now.
That's true.
You have your hat is
We're
green.
identifying more Irish today. Malverde died either as a result of having been betrayed by
Oh, I
friends,
have green on too. Oh
That's
my god.
3 for 3.
Whoa.
or was shot by local police, and his body was left exposed to the elements in the public square as an example to other potential Robin Hoods. So that's it. That's the Malverde legend. The evil green legend. Juan Soldado, or Juan the Soldier, was a private in the Mexican army stationed in Tijuana. He was accused of raping, killing, and beheading an 8-year-old girl, Olga Camacho Martinez. He was arrested and may or may not have confessed. A crowd attempted to seize him and set fire to the police station and city hall. He was turned over to the army, who court-martialed and shot him. Sort of a weird story for a saint. After his,
Wait.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, he did. Oh, this is the saint. This is the unsanctioned saint.
But why?
He was accused of this crime,
Uh-huh.
and a mob
And he
came.
confessed.
He was
may have
arrested. We don't know if he confessed.
Oh, I thought you said that he confessed.
People
I'm
who
sorry.
believe in him, I think, would say he didn't confess. He didn't do it. He was unfairly
Oh.
accused. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was like a fact that he did all of this, and I was like, what? Hold on a second.
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing that Catholics have done.
Yep. After his death, story surfaced that he had been framed by his superior officer. There you go. It's Jesse Cardoza, and strange paranormal events began happening at his gravesite. People left rocks on his grave, which were subsequently tied to miraculous events. There were reports of strange voices and blood seeping up from the grave. 2 shrines were created for him, and he's been closely associated with protecting people crossing or trafficking others across the border between Mexico and the United States. Juan the Soldier. Santa Muerte's presence at crime scenes is often difficult to connect with the saint directly. In Ciudad Juarez, in December 2009, people found an apparent altar and the spray-painted words Santa Muerte and Cuidanos Flaquita.
Cuidanos Flaquita? Like, they take care of us, skinny one.
Skinny one. Okay. It was on this crime scene. The next month, in the same city, police discovered a victim burned behind a house that contained an altar to Santa Muerte. So these are more direct. So these are indirect ties to Santa Muerte, and there's weird words in the crime scenes, but there are more direct ties for some criminals. So I'm talking about Daniel Arizmendi Lopez, also known as the Ear Chopper, police officer in Morelos, who was responsible for kidnapping 18 victims in Mexico, collecting over $40 million in ransom. He got his grim nickname from his habit of chopping off their ears and mailing them to family members. Lopez played a significant role in popularizing the connection between Santa Muerte and crime. When he was arrested in 1998, an altar to Santa Muerte was found in his home, and police allowed him to bring a Santa Muerte figure with him to prison. A car thief in Tepito was arrested in 2004. He claimed to have killed babies and virgins to offer to Santa Muerte. Similarly, in 2008, members of the Gulf Cartel brought Sinaloa cartel members to a Santa Muerte shrine to murder them. So more direct ties to Santa Muerte, so some are indirect, some are more direct. In both the Virgin of Guadalupe and less directly Santa Muerte, we can see Mexico's pagan culture bubbling under the surface of its Christian religiosity, like the pagan greenery in Christian homes at Christmas or Easter eggs scattered across the lawn to mark the advent of spring. When Europeans, mostly Spaniards, arrived in the Caribbean and the Aztec Empire, they were struck by the indigenous people's nakedness. In Europe, people rarely bathed and almost never took their clothes off for any circumstance. The mostly Spanish colonizers regarded the native people as exotic and appealing, and so began what has since been called the sexual conquest of the Americas. While many native Mexican and Taino people died from forced labor, disease, and warfare, many also became the mothers of a mestizo bloodline that would last to the present day. In this way, contemporary Mexicans like Alan have remained linked to their pagan ancestors across the generations, and those links have persisted in their culture as well, often in ways that are difficult to define. These are the vague notes of pagan belief in the Dias de los Muertos, for example, although no scholar can definitively tie one to the other. In the same way, paganism whispers softly under the prayers to the Virgin of Guadalupe and Santa Muerte, too quiet to identify, but nevertheless unmistakable in its presence. Final thoughts, Alan and Savannah.
No, it's very crazy because like I think when I was younger, I would if I saw one of those, I would absolutely think of like, oh, they're like devil worshippers, you know. But as I grew up and I understood religion more and you know spiritualism, I think I've started to appreciate, you know, like the faith that people put in these figures. Mexico is a very special country, you know. Mexico is very diverse. It's home to a lot of industries, so there's like a lot of money to be made, but the people are not benefiting from that, you know. So they always have to find a way to make a living, and a lot of people end up turning to, you know, dangerous activities, and I understand why, you know. It's that there's no other way, you know. Even cops are corrupt, like, and that is very known. Like corruption is everywhere. So people who are at the bottom have to find a way, and I don't know, when everything else feels like it's a sham, I think you flock to something that maybe might have mystic powers and stuff, and like you talked about, like it's this statue that kind of like charges up with your energy, with your faith, with your prayers, and I think all that is very important in Mexico, having all that faith, you know, in order to survive. It's a wild country. It's a beautiful country, but the way it's a structure, it's made it so that people at the bottom don't go up, and so you have to find your way, and La Santa Muerte is there to protect those people, you know. Like I don't think if you were doing things like that, I don't think maybe your Catholic saints or their version of God would help you, you know. Like if you were to go to a priest and tell him what you've done, I don't know, he wouldn't be understanding, you know. But if you talk to someone who is there, who is more understanding, I think, I think that's why it's grown in popularity over the past few decades.
Santa Muerte offers that comfort.
Yeah. Where did they get the idea? I mean, if it's true that like sacrificing babies and virgins and stuff like that to her is a good idea.
You make it up yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, these are individuals, you know. You can, if you find a god, you find a religion, you can find a person who has distorted it to the point that they're doing something horrific, you know. So
fair enough.
In this case, I think Santa Muerte certainly, you know, as we're saying at the end here, has a lot of associations with the criminal element, but I think Alan's right to point out that these are people in difficult circumstances.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be looking down our nose and saying, Santa Muerte is this and that.
No,
Santa Muerte
definitely.
is a relationship, I guess, with people who are just trying to get by any way they can. Difficult circumstances.
Yeah. And yeah, if you're delusional enough, you'll probably do crazy things. Like heard of this documentary of this fertility doctor who was impregnating all these people.
Oh, the Our Father one.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's so crazy. And he did it out of like a faith in religion, right?
Yeah. It was like he wanted to keep his family line going or something like that, because his religion was like, you're so important or something. It was really weird.
Like, yeah, he drew it like it was like a paragraph from like the Bible or something, right? That he was like, he took that as a sign that he was in that profession to spread his bloodline, and I think that's disgusting. It's fucked up. And yeah, like if you're delusional enough, you'll do crazy things.
I think we wanted to draw a line, certainly when Alan's talking about, and I'm talking about people in difficult circumstances who are trying to survive. That's very different from people who go out of their way to murder babies and things.
There's
definitely a line there. So one form of Santa Muerte worship, I think, is understandable. The other one is a distortion. Yeah.
And before we roll out, I want to tell a story that of a friend. So they're from Guatemala, and his mom had a brother who was an alcoholic. He died in his adulthood, but when he was young, he would go out and party and all that. And this is at a time when in Guatemala there wasn't a lot of like development, no roads, no street lights, a lot of trees, so not much development. So he would go out and party, and he would be taken home by a mysterious creature, like some they believed it was La Llorona.
Oh.
I don't think it was La Llorona.
The crying lady.
Yeah, the crying lady.
Yeah.
Wouldn't she kill him? She's not really a protector, right?
There's also some people think she's if you speak bad to her, like she'll kill you. Like there's that belief and all that. But if you come across her, the thing is you ignore her and you go on your way and she won't bother you. But apparently, so this multiple times he would get drunk in the city, and then someone would drop him off, make like a loud crying, like echoey deep scream, and the door would bang, and there he'd be outside like almost passed out, like from drinking. And but I think that may have been La Santa Muerte, protecting him and taking him home. I think his family probably didn't understand, or maybe they didn't know he might have been worshiping La Santa Muerte, because like at the time it would be something that you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that happened multiple times, and that story is told amongst the family members, and I was lucky enough to be at a function when I got to hear it, and it's wild, like
interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, super cool.
All right, Savannah, we're not going to top that. Bring us on home.
I hereby adjourn and declare closed this meeting of alchemical actors until such a time as we get together and do it again.
Thanks again to Alan for joining us. Alan, this was excellent. I think we need to have you back, right, Savannah?
Yeah. This was fun.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I always look up to you all. So being here, I'm a little starstruck being here. So I really appreciate you guys wanting me back. You guys are awesome.
My name is Dr. Rob C. Thompson, joined by Savannah Verrett, sister of the 84th degree. I, of course, am your supreme hierophant. Savannah, tell the good people bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Next time here on Occult Confessions, we are going to be moving on from our Pagans and Persecution series into our Dangerous Cults series.
Oh.
Yes.
That sounds fun, actually.
Yeah, we get a lot of requests for people to talk about these dangerous cults.
So what, are we going to talk about like Jim Jones and all that stuff?
No, there's so much on Jim Jones. I'm interested in cults that intentionally harm people, though, so I'm going to leave Jim Jones be, just because you can listen to 500 podcast episodes on Jim Jones. But we're going to do Amrun Shinrikyo, we're going to do Falun Gong, which I don't believe actually is a dangerous cult, but the Chinese government believes they're a dangerous cult. We're going to talk about Nation of Islam and Malcolm X and how he was killed. So we're going to do some interesting topics. We're going to start with an episode that's a little bit more theoretical on cult brainwashing that I promise will keep everyone riveted while I disprove the notion that you can be brainwashed, period. But
he's only saying that to cover himself.
As I brainwash
We've all been brainwashed
all of the
by him.
Alchemical Actors, yes. So join us for brainwashing next time here on Occult Confessions.
Bye.
That was great, Alan.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wear my shades because I broke my regular glasses and these have prescriptions. So I can see with these.
All right.
It is kind of bright in here, though.
Want me to turn the lights out?
No.
Okay. That would be weird. Hey, what are you guys doing
weird.
in here? In this storage room. With these microphones in the dark. With this man in sunglasses. What's happening? I don't know what the guess would be or what is happening, but something. Okay. Do you know the opener? We did it last time.